Hello everyone, welcome to the second Woolly Witch of the West video cast. My name is Madeline. I'm the spider half of Fox and Spider Arts, as well as one of the partners here at my local yarn shop, the Woolery Mammoth, where we're filming today. I can be found on Instagram as Woolly Witch of the West, on Ravelry as WoolyWitchotWest, and through Fox and Spider Arts or the Woolery Mammoth, both on Facebook. And I will link all that information in the show notes below when I'm done editing this all up later. So this is a bi-weekly podcast for the love of all things fiber arts. So for me and my projects, I'll be focusing probably mostly on spinning, dyeing as we get here into the spring and summer season, and knitting, although I do also do some weaving and felting in the mix, so it will be kind of generally wool and fiber arts associated things. And I'll just kind of go through what I'm working on and how I did it, and a lot of this for me is sharing my learning process, so I'm not an expert, especially when it comes to spinning, but I am learning, and I'm hoping that this video cast will kind of help some people online who are maybe at the same stage. So there you go, that's what it is. So every time I do a show, I'll probably go through what I'm working on spinning, what I finished spinning, and what I'm working on knitting, and what I've finished, some finished projects, so you can kind of see going through stage to stage how things have ended up. So I will probably get right into it. I'm going to try and keep these pretty short so they don't take up so much of your time. There are a bunch of other video casts here on YouTube I know that are fantastic that you probably also need to go watch. So there is that. So I'm going to start with what is currently on my wheel and what I'm spinning, which is I'm doing an intentional spin to make some gradient rainbow hats, which I do make for sale, and rainbow is pretty much always popular no matter what. So this is the end of the braid that I currently am working through. So you can see all the great color variation in it. And I also do have, I bought 2 of them. And this is from an indie dyer on Etsy from Opalescence Wearable Fiber Arts Studios. And I just really liked the more muted rainbow braid. And these are merino and bamboo, so you can see it's always neat to mix plant fibers and animal fibers together when you're dyeing because they take dye differently. So the streaks of white throughout are streaks of bamboo fiber, which doesn't take dye the same way that wool does. So it gives like a lovely kind of muted, heathered kind of yarn with the color changes. And so this is what my singles look like. And you can't really see the full color range. There are some brighter pinks underneath here, but I'm just getting into the greens and blues and purples of that rainbow. And I'm spinning for kind of a bulkier, a heavy worsted probably yarn, and I'm going to chain ply this so I keep the color repeats together, and the hat will be knitted in a gradient, probably with the purple at the bottom because that's the way that I would wear it. So yeah, this version at least I'm going to do with the chain ply, so it will look kind of like the rainbow hat that I showed you all last time. I'll probably use the same pattern. There is a little bit more to this braid than there was the last one, so I'm hoping maybe I'll get kind of a slouchier hat. And I did have some people online already say that they would be interested if I had another one come up, so there you go guys, I'm making some. And I did buy 2 braids. So part of what I'm thinking is with this braid, I've been watching video casts here online, and one of my favorites is the Woolen Spinning podcast, and I will link to them below. She is really, really fantastic. and very, very informative. So if you have any interest in spinning and spinning technique and seeing how things go from start to finish, she's also a great person to watch. And she's done a few showing kind of different ways to do fractal spins. So I think that I'm probably going to do the same project, only I'm going to split this probably 3 times and fractal spin it. So it'll be neat to be able to compare how the same colors will spin up in a fractal spin as opposed to chain ply. And I'll do them both as a 3-ply instead of a 2-ply. I've done a fractal spin as a 2-ply before, but not as a 3-ply. So they'll come out a similar weight with the same color, and that's my current experiment to just kind of see and show the differences, and then beyond that, see how the same yarn in a different spin knits up for the same project. So I'm actually really excited about that. And that's my current work in progress spin. I'll probably finish at least the chain plied yarn, spinning the singles for it today. And I may go ahead and ply it. I may not. I may wait on it. And it looks like someone's going to come into the shop, so I'm going to pause and edit this together later and see you guys. Alright everyone, I'm back. I'm going to just stop off and on, and I'll just edit this all together at the end if someone comes by and needs some help with the shop. So hopefully that's not going to be too bothersome for you all. So next up, I have finished spinning. So I thought I'd start, actually I found some of the first yarn I ever spun, which is kind of fun. I used it for weaving projects for an art show that I did last September at the end of a season where I made arts on newness was the idea. So I made weavings from my first spun yarn and my first dyed yarn. So all of it was a new skill, and that was kind of the point of it as art, was to embrace the flaws in the learning curve and think about texture and color and how interesting all of that can be. I've heard many spinners say that they wish they could spin the same way that they could when they were beginners. Like you get good and then you can spin evenly, but then when you're really good, you can spin unevenly again, kind of is what I've heard. So this is the very first yarn I dyed the wool and then I spun it. So this is kind of fun. It's very uneven. There are lots of thin spots. It's singles. I didn't ply any of it. And I used most of it in a weaving, like I said. So some of it is very overspun and very thin in places, very thick in places, and I kind of love it. It's, you know, it's kind of neat. So this was dyed with onion skins. I saved up onion skins for like a year. My poor spouse creature letting me keep a paper bag full of drying onion skins in our kitchen. Bless them, they still let me do that to this day, since this orangey yellow is so vibrant. I really like it. So this is where I started, and I started spinning last August and September, really. This is where I started out, so a little under a year. That's where I started, and this is where I am now. So this is what's recently off my wheel, and I'm really excited about this yarn. A little bit of background on the colors and the dyer. There is a really talented, lovely woman who lives here locally who not only dyes fiber, but she also has a mixed flock of sheep. So this wool is local to me and dyed by a local dyer named Siri Larson, I think. Siri, if that's not your last name, I really apologize, but I think it's Siri Larson. And she has just recently started a business on Etsy. So her Etsy shop is the Mother of All Wool Works is her shop name, which I think is great. So she raises her own sheep, she has them sheared, the wool is processed in a local to us mill, the 13-mile mill, the same one that processes the raw, the roving that I dye. And she dyes it up, and I bought this from her. And any of you who follow me on Instagram will know I had a great plying dilemma about this after I finished up the singles. And I spin on an Ashford traditional wheel, and I do not have a jumble fly, so for and this was, I think, 4 ounces, so I have to split it up, especially when I'm plying. I think I was able to fit all the singles onto one bobbin, but then I had to split it up. And this has been set. And the colors just are so saturated, they make me so happy. I don't know what I'm going to make with this yarn, and I did get a little bit of barber pulling, you can see a little bit there, when I was doing the plying. I'm pretty new to chain plying. This is the second skein of yarn that I've done chain plying on, or 2 and 3, I suppose, technically. And I think in the places where it barber pulled, there's always going to be a little bit of layover between the colors in gradient yarns. But I also did kind of larger loops, and I think in places where it barber pulled, you can see where I maybe made the loop too long. And I thought when I first hung this to dry and pulled it up and wound my little skein up that, oh, this is so even. It's not really. It's not very even at all, actually. But I'm not really upset by that. I'm learning. I'm going to have uneven yarns for that, and I'm not really bothered by that. I feel like it gives yarn character, and then you can tell how handmade it is when you end up with something like that. So I haven't run this through and gotten final yardage on it. I think it's probably 240. So I'm trying to go for fingering weight yarn eventually. Sorry about that, adventures in recording on my phone. So as I was saying, I'm going for a fingering weight eventually because I want to be able to make shawls with smaller amounts. And so far that hasn't really happened yet. So I thought I was spinning finer than I was with the finished product I've been getting. But since this is a 3-pie, that doesn't really surprise me. To go back to the plying debate I was having, I said earlier, I was trying to decide what to do because the colors on this is so amazing. Whether I wanted to do a double ply, I would have gotten a lot more yardage and maybe closer to a fingering weight yarn, which is what I was going for originally, but I would have lost some of the how vibrant the colors are, I think. If I had done that, it would have barber pulled for a lot of it, and it isn't that I don't like that. Siri, who's the dyer, actually when she spins up what she's dyed, does that pretty often. I'm not sure if she does 2 or 3 ply, and it looks really lovely, but I couldn't decide when I had it, and I thought about plying it. I had a lace weight mohair yarn that was a light blue, and I'm probably pretty happy that I didn't do that. I think I want to try, I might buy some more roving for her in a different colorway that may be more blue or green, and then give that a shot and see what kind of yardage I end up from that. So we'll see. I'm gonna cake this up today and see what kind of projects I can find on Ravelry within the yardage that I end up with, and we'll see. I'm I'm thinking maybe arm warmers actually. I haven't done a pair of those in a really long while, and I used to all the time. What else about this yarn? Oh, I know the fiber content of this. This is 50/50 merino rambouillet, I think, blended, and it was kind of neat to spin up because it's different. It's definitely different. The rambouillet makes it different than other fibers that I've spun up so far. It's very, it's springy. It's very kind of springy, and it makes the yarn kind of fluffier than I expected it to be. So I don't know very much about rambouillet sheep. I'm gonna look them up, so maybe I'll talk about that a little bit more next time. I don't know if they have a shorter staple, or what the crimp in their wool actually looks like. But it's just really fun. It's really fun and very squishy. So I'm interested in that, and I'm gonna start looking more at the breeds when I get fiber that I know the breed content with, and start doing that. Probably not super in-depth breed studies. I'm not quite there yet, although I'm interested. So we'll see how that goes. So there's that. So now on to the knitting part of things. I have a few unfinished projects with me, and then finished projects. And as I said last time, I'm kind of using this show as a way to keep myself accountable, to make myself finish unfinished projects. So the mohair shawl that I should... Okay, one day I'm actually going to finish filming this video. Okay. So where was I? So, knitting things that I'm working on. The mohair shawl, that's the orange, beautiful, drapey shawl that is not for me, that I showed you last time. I still haven't finished that yet, although I can report I have worked on it some. So hopefully I will have that done in time for the next podcast. And I did not... Here's another... I'm reaching. I have everything piled out here with me. I did not finish my February socks. I didn't. But I'm very close. The cable goes across the toes on these, so they're a little weird. But they're very fancy. I don't know if I've actually made socks this fancy before. And as you can see, I'm very close on the second sock. I'm almost to the toes, in fact. So I've started moving the cable across the top of the foot, and some people show up at the shop and do spinning on Saturdays, and if no one shows up, I'm going to work on these socks, and I'm going to finish them. So when I show up for Sock Sunday tomorrow, I will be working on a different pair of socks. So these guys are almost done, and I have to say, there are a couple of you who took me literally and have been reminding me to work on my unfinished projects. Gwen in particular, I'm talking about you. So thank you for that bit of fun accountability. They haven't been hassling me too bad. I'm not feeling picked on. I asked for it. So thank you. I am almost done. It has encouraged me to work on things. So there are those very nearly done socks. They will be done next time, and maybe I'll put them on some sock blockers so you can see the rest of the pattern a little bit more, or take some pictures of them on my feet. My other in progress at the moment, this is another pussy hat. I'm just making them. I'm making them, lots of them. So I don't follow the pattern and knit them in a rectangle. I knit them long ways and then seam the top and the side, because it's really easy. So this is kind of a fun one because it's made with leftover scrap yarn from other hats I've already made. And I'm probably going to give it to one of my sisters. I'm just kind of outfitting the whole family if they want one. they can have one. And I do, since I finished one of the projects that I asked you guys to hold me accountable for, I am going to add another to the list since I finished one. So this is kind of a funny story. So I have a nephew. He's 6 now. His name is Owen, and he's a really fun, fantastic kid. And he's always been kind of interested in my knitting and what I'm working on. So when I started dyeing, I looked at dyeing with food coloring, and I didn't do it myself when it was just me, but I went down, and when I visited, Owen and I dyed some yarn with, dyed some wool with food coloring. And I have some really cute photos of that on Instagram. He's really adorable and fun. And so this is what I have left of that. And I spun it up just as singles, and I asked him, okay, well, we made this together. What do you want me to make you with it? And I was expecting, oh, I want it to be a hat or a vest or a scarf. But Owen is 6 and has his own mind about things, and Owen wants an Allosaurus. That's what Owen wants made from our hand spun yarn. So I don't crochet a lot, but I have found an amigurumi pattern that for a T-Rex that I know Owen is not an Allosaurus technically, but it's pretty close. So I'm working through that. And the T-Rex pattern is by Paola Navarro, and I found it on Etsy. It is a paid pattern, but it is really adorable. So this is my new accountability project, and I have it, some parts of it are done. This is his little body, and you can see the other color we dyed. It's actually really pretty. It's kind of blue and purpley, and it would have made a lovely hat striped together, don't you think, guys? So this is the little body, and I have little fat legs that'll go on the side. And the pattern, you end up with a dinosaur that stands up on his own. You weight the tail, and that's really cool. And I have both of his little legs done. There's his other little leg, and his head. That's the top and that's the bottom. So I think he'll look kind of like a baby Allosaurus, right? So all the things I never expected to be doing with my hand spun, I'm making a dinosaur. And I really need to finish this guy and get him in the mail to my nephew, who has been waiting very patiently. So there you go. And it isn't, I'm probably not crocheting as tightly as you're supposed to crochet for amigurumi. This is what I've discovered. I'm not much of a crocheter, and this is really a challenge to me. I'm definitely one of those people where knitting came to me really, really easily, and ironically I learned crochet first, and I made granny squares, and that's kind of where I quit with crochet. It doesn't make as much sense to me as knitting does, especially in patterns. But the pattern has lots of photos, and so far so good. So hopefully I will be finishing this guy up. I'm really close. I just have to make his little arms and his little feet and little eyeballs. And my friend Katie is coming to the shop to do spinning, so I'm going to pause and talk to her. Maybe she'll join me. Okay, hello everybody. I am editing this all together, so hopefully that last break wasn't too sudden or sharp. We had an unexpectedly busy day at the shop today. I had people stop by for spinning and arm knitting and to talk yarn. I got to meet another fiber artist and dyer, which is really cool because she was in town. So, as you can tell, I'm no longer at the shop now. It's been kind of a long day. So we're home back at the studio. You have a little bit of a different view behind me. You can see some of my other work on the wall there. A couple of pieces I did for a gallery show with plant dyed fibers and painted canvases. The light kind of washes them out, but the good news is that I was kind of almost to the wrap-up point with my podcast, so now we're on to finished projects, also known as what I was working on instead of the things that I told you that I would finish, because I've definitely done a couple of those. So, but first, before I get to the things I was working on that I hadn't been working on before, I do have finished mittens. Start to finish, finished mittens for the Spouse Beast, and they do fit, and they do open, so they can fold back. Fingers can come out, so the front bit on this is a little rough. I probably should have made these pieces maybe a little bit shorter, but I wanted to make sure that they overlapped completely when they were closed. And these are made with Letlopi, so Icelandic wool. It's really waterproof. And as they use these, they'll probably felt a little bit, and that will help them be waterproof. More waterproof even. The inside of these too looks... So you can see all of the color work left the wool double throughout most of the mittens, so they'll get really warm as they wear over the years. And of course, now that I have finally finished these mittens, today it is raining. So I had to finish the mittens to bring on the spring. That was the theory at the yarn shop today. So there was one accountability project actually finished. There they are. And these are my first mittens. I hadn't made mittens before. Here they are, my first mittens. Other finished things. Another pink hat. I am still knitting these. I'll be knitting them for a long time. I get the feeling this is not the same one I showed you last time, although it's the exact same yarn. And I'm just, knitting them, outfitting the whole family. This is for my big sister Katharina, and I finished knitting it on International Women's Day, so that seemed apt. It's going down to Alabama. And the other things that I finished knitting this week, not this week, over the past 2 weeks, are both from Handspun, so that's kind of exciting. The little scarf that I'm wearing was one of the skeins I showed you last time. So, oh goodness, I have, give me just a second here. I wrote down all the patterns so I could talk to you about them. Aha, there it is. I'm really happy with how it turned out. The bottom is a bit knobbly. There was a thick spot in the yarn, and I don't know. I don't think the sparkle's really gonna show up very well on the camera. But I did not put the eyelets in where the color change happened on purpose. It just came out that way following the pattern. And I really like the edging on this. So this is called the Riverside Scarf, and it's by Michele Meadows, and it's a free pattern on Ravelry. I'm a big fan of the free patterns. And it's really lovely. And it used the exact amount of yardage that I had for this skein. I think last time I told you that I thought I had 230 yards. It turns out I had 219 yards instead. So this was one of my wake-up call skeins where I thought I had been spinning much thinner than I was, and I wasn't. This is a worsted weight, and I knit this up on size 8 needles, I believe. And it's a fairly basic, it's a garter stitch shawl with some eyelet lace and this really lovely kind of picket edging. The pattern online calls for picket cast off as well, so you would have bumps along the top, but I was going for length on the scarf to make sure that it would wrap around enough that I could have it and drape it so that I would like it. So I skipped the picket edge cast off in favor of a few more rows. So I modified the pattern just a little bit, but I'm pretty happy with it, and the light in here isn't that great, so it's not really picking up on it, but it does have sparkle throughout the entire thing, so that makes me pretty happy. And it's just garter stitch, so it's super squishy, very comfy, and I was happy to have it to wear while I was working at the shop today. I'm trying to have more that I can wear to look I knit. Here's a yarn shop. So, there's that one. I'm missing one thing here. This is something that I actually had finished during the last show. It was blocking on the counter behind me. So this is just, it's another, the fiber for this that I spun up and this were both dyed by the same lady, Elizabeth, who I did the fiber swap with, so I'm not the dyer for these. And I hadn't spun with any sparkle before, and she sent me a lot of fun things. So this is another just little scarf. It's asymmetrical. The pattern for this is the Lava Lace Scarf by Evelyn A. Clark, which is designed for I knitted on much bigger needles than the needles she used in the patterns. I used like a size 13 needle for this, and I really didn't have much yardage on it at all. It was a mini bat, but it was full of all the fun things. You can see the yellow in there. That's recycled sari silk. Some of the white noils throughout are also silk, and this has sparkle in it as well. And it reminded me of mermaids, so instead of hiding the extra, I gave it a little dangle with a shell. And this is for sale right now through Fox and Spider Arts, so I just priced it at $40. I kind of hope someone gets it for a mermaid-obsessed little girl. It could be worn as a hip scarf if you pinned it just right. I have a lot of friends who are belly dancers, so that's finished, and there's orange too. So that was really fun. And I just did that as a 2-ply, so it's barber pulled throughout. And there. Okay, phew. Okay, hopefully I can get through this. Sorry about this. Apparently recording on my phone is a little bit complicated. I'll have to look at the storage, but I'm almost through all of this, so thank you for bearing with me and sitting through. If you've made it this far, I really appreciate it. So I'm on to talking about my final project where the phone cut out before I realized it. So here it is. This is the one I'm most excited about. This lovely shawl. I know. Got a bit of a tiny screen there, so this is made from wool that is plant dyed, that I dyed over the summer. So the kind of greeny tan is dyed with choke cherry. I showed you the skein of this last time, and it was much pinker. So after I washed it, this is kind of what I ended up with. I expected it to be more color fast than it was, and if I look at it, it's a 2-ply up really close. It's as if one of the plies held the pink better than the other. But it's a really pretty color, so I'm not terribly disappointed, and I think I'm still going to try dyeing with choke cherry again this summer, and we'll kind of see how it turns out. a lot of plant dyes are not terribly color fast, some more than others. So that's good to know. I'm still really happy with it, and there's a shawl. The contrast color for the edging is slippery jack mushrooms, which is a type in the bolete family. They grow all over the woods here. I harvested some thinking that I would dry them and be very self-sufficient. I am a novice. I say that a lot. I'm a novice at a lot of things. One of them is mushroom hunting. So I collected a bunch of mushrooms which looked to me like they would be perfectly good, but they were a bit wormy, actually. So I used them to dye instead. And I got this kind of yellow. And the yarn feels very different. I overboiled the mushroom and actually had to card the fiber into rollags before I could spin it. So it was spun very differently. And it's neat to kind of see the difference all in one garment. I'm still really happy with the edging on this. And yeah, overall, I feel like it looks very classic and kind of vintage. As far as shawls go, it's not quite big enough for me. I'm a bit wide in the shoulders for it, and it would look really lovely on someone with a bit slighter frame than I have. So I'm probably going to either put this one up for sale as well, or offer it up to someone who I know who's a little bit different build than I am, so that they could wear that and enjoy it as a little short shawl. So yeah, that's my final finished project. And it's very simple, but really, really kind of classically lovely. I like how it turned out. And this is also a free pattern on Ravelry called the Lace Edged Shawl by Allison Griffith. And if you type that name in and then switch the search to worsted, it's like the third one. It's in the top row, I think. I did modify the pattern a little bit with my cast-off edge to get these little pickets. So, you know, cast on 3, cast off 3, along the rows of the eyelet lace going down, just to give it a little more of a flounced edge at the bottom. So just a little pattern modification there, and that's it. So I have made it through. I will try to get back to recording these kind of all in one go instead of broken up like today's recording has ended up being. I had just kind of a couple things come up where I thought I would be able to record all in one go on Friday, and that didn't happen. And then today I've been working and kind of recording in pieces as when the shop was empty between things. So in the future I will probably not be doing that. And I'll go back to mostly recording here at home. I think I like the quality of the video from the phone, but I'm not sure how the sound will be, so I'm gonna put this all together and edit it all together and see. If you have any feedback on technical aspects of my recording or suggestions, I'd love to hear them. I'm learning, so we can learn together and help one another if you have suggestions. And that's a wrap for me. I better get editing this so I can have it out to you guys. So once again, I'm Madeline, the Woolly Witch of the West. Thank you for stopping by and watching this. And all of my contact information and links to any patterns that I've talked about over the course of the show, other video casts, and my Instagram, Facebook, Ravelry, Patreon, all of that will be at the bottom in the show notes. So thanks for watching, you guys, and I will see you in a couple of weeks with new projects. Happy spinning!